have someone special today on the set of Cheese 52. I'd like to introduce to you my book editor. This is Steve Olson.
Hello.
He was a viewer just like you, and he contacted me a couple of years ago and said, I have a couple of years before my wife retires and we get on the road doing full-time RVing. And frankly, I'm bored a little bit. Was kind of wondering if you wanted to write a book. And if you did, if you'd be willing to let me edit it for you. I wasn't really sure that Steve was actually the real deal. And
Yeah.
Vince and I talked about it and we decided to take a chance. And boy, are we ever glad we did, because he's an integral part and reason to why the book is present today. So, Steve and I are going to talk about the book, about the background of the book, how it came to be, and why it's a great book for you.
First of all, congratulations on getting this done.
Thank you.
This was a lot of work. I know. I was there watching you. It was a lot of work. And to be really honest about this, I was trying part of my retirement because I was bored. I decided I wanted to learn how to make cheese. And I went through, as many people do, YouTube, trying to find people that could kind of help guide that conversation. And I found your channel. I really liked what you were doing. And the biggest thing for me was that you made cheese making accessible to somebody that didn't know what they were doing. And one of the things that I was most impressed about is that you answered all of your comments on your YouTube channel. And I thought, man, is she ever putting a lot of work into this? This is almost a full-time job. But you also did something else that really impressed me. And I don't remember which video it was, but you said something along the lines of, if you ever need one of my recipes, just email me and I'll send it to you. And so I did. And you sent me the recipe, and I started realizing that, the fact that you're putting all of this out for people, it would be good if maybe I could help to contribute to the cheese community by helping you. So that's where the offer came in. After I got one of your recipes, I contacted you and said, now that you've got all these recipes, what are you planning on doing? Are you thinking of writing a book? And you admitted that you were. And so there it was. And I would like to know right off the get-go here, when was it in your cheese journey that you came to the realization that you needed to write a book?
Oh my goodness. I know right when it was. I was sitting on the couch one night and I was answering questions with my thumbs. And because I was answering the comments on the channel. It's important to me. I answer almost every comment. A few get by me, but not many. And Vince looked over at me and he said, now that you've put out all these videos, you should probably just write a book and answer all those questions that you keep answering with your thumbs. So it was right about that time that you contacted me.
Yeah.
It was serendipity for sure.
Yeah. Do you find that there's a lot of questions that you get repetitively?
Yes, absolutely.
That was part of the process then?
Yes, and
Right.
all of those are in the book.
Yeah. So when you made the decision to write the book, what do you think was missing in your knowledge base?
Oh, that's a great question. I would answer solid scientific background.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you were a hobbyist and you'd figured this out, a lot of trial and error, but the science side of it was lacking. So what did you do?
True. Yeah, I had some pretty good instincts and had some idea that culture was contributing to the quality of the cheese, things like that. But I also knew there was so much more that I didn't know. So I began to take a look at where I could find quality information that I could trust, that I could push out to you so that you could trust it and move forward with quality cheese making. So I began my journey to try to find a good place to learn, and I ended up at the University of Guelph in Ontario, Canada. It is, in my opinion, probably the world's foremost cheesemaking certificate program. It was not so cheap and it was very time consuming. I found it during COVID, during that period of time. And my first several classes were online because the university had shut down. Even some of the videos that I was watching and learning, my instructors were wearing masks. So it was arduous in the beginning, but I know that I made the right decision in getting my certificate at the University of Guelph.
You were also at that time becoming a voracious reader. And it
Absolutely.
wasn't just picking up everybody else's cheese making books. It was looking into the science and biology. And I went over your bookshelf, and it's a pretty big stack of pretty thick reading.
It is. I've been reading a lot of microbiology books and cheese and microbes, and I've learned so much about what bacteria does to cheese. And I will also say, uh, I aligned myself and surrounded myself with many PhDs in both chemistry and physics, as well as several food scientists, because I wanted to get this right. That was important to me.
When you think about writing a book, I believe there's a lot of people that go into it not really realizing just how much goes in to writing a book. How was the process for you?
Oh my goodness, it is so much work because you have to first start with a concept and map it out from beginning to end. So I needed to map and outline the important things that I knew you would want to know and how I was going to answer all of that. I needed to make sure it was in clean, organized fashion so I could take you from the beginning of cheese making all the way into a solid scientific understanding of intermediate cheese making. So it that mapping process took a lot of time. And also the citations took a lot of time, and then learning where the quality resource material was and making sure that I was articulating that correctly in the book.
I already know the answer to this next part, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I think the viewers would like to know this. Did you ever feel like giving up?
Oh my goodness, yes. And there was one day when Steve and I would pass documents back and forth in Dropbox. And there was one day where I opened up, I can't remember which chapter it was anymore, but I opened up the chapter and I saw more red than I saw ink. And I remember putting my head in my hand saying, what am I doing? Because this is going to take me hours and hours to correct and research. Because let me tell you, this guy put my toes to the fire. And if there was something that we weren't sure whether or not it was true or not, he was on it. And I went back to more research, back to the food scientists, back to the physics majors and the chemists, and got the answers that needed to happen to make the book accurate.
What kept you going?
Vince,
Mhm.
Vince,
Yeah.
I would come out of the office and he would come home from work and he'd say, how goes the battle? That's what he often says to me. And this time around, I remember the day of the red ink. I said, I'm not sure I'm cut out for this author business. I don't even know why I'm doing this. I don't even know if anybody is interested in a book from me. And I don't even know if this is worth it. And he said to me, he said that the knowledge I have and the knowledge that I've gained is worth sharing with others and to not give up because someday you'll make your mark on someone that matters and you may never know who that person is. You may never know the reason why they picked up your book or what it did. It may be someone who wanted to start a business with cheese making, but he said, do it for them and keep going. So I did. And Vince is the reason the book is in existence today.
I think a lot of that philosophy also derives from your martial arts background, in that really when you get to a certain place of expertise, you owe it to the community.
To give back.
Yeah.
It's true. And there's a saying in martial arts that a black belt is just a white belt that didn't give up.
Yeah.
And I would say that an author is just a YouTuber or a blogger or a writer that didn't give up.
Well, congratulations on grading to your black belt of book writing.
I guess.
A lot of recipes and methods that you explore in this book are really designed for beginners, and then you move up to what I would consider to be kind of an intermediate level of cheese making. What was your thought process around choosing that audience for this book?
That I love that question. And there's a solid answer for that. There are many, many beginning cheese making books out there that are very fine. I started with some myself and recommend several very beginning cheese making books. And they don't go really much into the science. They just tell you what to do. And they sometimes they don't tell you how to fix something. And I noticed that pretty early on that the questions I was getting on the channel were going far beyond the beginning cheesemaking knowledge. And in a video, there is only so much time I have to be able to discuss the different things that are happening at each step of the way. And at sometimes I would get questions on the channel that would ask more in-depth knowledge. And I was recognizing that if I answered all of those questions in a video, those videos would be hours and hours long. So a book is an appropriate place to find those answers. And I needed it to move into the intermediate space because I recognized there were beginning cheesemaking books and there were highly advanced cheesemaking books, but I didn't see much that catered to the home cheesemaker who just really wanted to know what was happening inside that pot.
Mhm.
And that's the reason I chose to bridge the gap and include the intermediate portion and the science behind what was happening.
Right. I was very impressed when it finally came to the point of layout and the way you designed the book, the way it can be opened, and here's the full recipe. I really appreciated the recipe at a glance, your timing. So talk a little bit about your thought process around the way this was eventually laid out and what you put into it that's different than other cheesemaking books.
First of all, I will say that I was introduced to a fabulous layout artist, and I had no idea how important layout was to the end user. That would be the viewer, you, that is opening up this book. The way that the book falls is important. How the words are laid out is very important. Where you can find the information in tidbit size, where if you don't have time to read a whole chapter, at least you can pick up a little piece here and a little piece there. And how the tidbits matter to the recipe at hand. All of those decisions, every piece that you see was very carefully thought out before it was actually laid out onto a page. I take pride in the timing at a glance charts. They're not common. In fact, I'm not sure I've ever seen one. And it was born of so many questions that said, hey, I got to run to the grocery store. Is it okay if I leave these curds in the pot for a few hours? No, not really. Or I had an emergency and I wasn't able to finish, or how long is it going to take me to get through this cheese? I have no idea. Or do I really have to get up at 3 a.m. to flip that cheese in the brine, or can I wait till the morning? So I recognized it was important to put a timing in at a glance so that you could plan your day and know exactly when all of those steps were happening so that you wouldn't be caught at the grocery store needing to flip a cheese or maybe in the middle of the night.
What else about the layout?
Let me see. If a cheese is being brined, I made sure to include the brine recipe. Even though it seems repetitive, I find it far more convenient, and many of you did too, that to have everything you needed just in that one recipe layout. So you wouldn't have to flip back to the brining chapter to find my brine recipe. It was right all laid out. Another thing I did is I made sure to include both units of measurement so that you wouldn't have to flip back to a chart or Google. And let me tell you what, making sure that all of those were correct is not as easy a process as I thought it was. It's not as simple as a find, replace, or anything like that. I was looking those up constantly to make sure that they were accurate.
Well, it's helpful because being the Canadian in the room, we're on metric system and trying to convert things for me into ounces and stuff. It was like, okay, that's impossible.
And I recognize that the US is certainly the anomaly in the world when it comes to measurement, and I wanted to make sure I got that right.
Yeah. Would it be okay if we did a little shout out to your designer?
Yes, absolutely. His name is Keshavjee,
Yeah.
and he is actually a friend of Steve's. And let me tell you what, he is a dynamite designer. He designed the cover, and he also gave such great insight into the reader's mentality when they go through a book. That was carefully curated so that you could move through the book in a very systematic fashion. And I thought I was finished when I was finished with Steve, but No, he called me on the carpet many times and would say things like, "Are you sure that this is the right place to articulate this piece of knowledge, or is there a better place for this in the book?" And he helped me make some of those decisions. And let me tell you, if it wasn't for talented people like Steve and Mo, and then my reading committee, which consisted of several PhDs, a pharmacist, an educator, and a home cheesemaker turned into an artisan cheesemaker, and as well as a physics PhD and a chemist PhD. All of those people contributed to the quality of this book, and they all read each other's work. And they all questioned each other on their work. It was really a huge collaborative effort.
And it took a while. I mean, from the time we first talked about this till the time the book actually came out, 2 full years,
I would
maybe a little,
say
little more.
2.5 years
2.5 years.
from start to
Yeah.
finish. Yeah.
I would like to kind of wrap this with an important thing that I found in your process, that when you first presented it, I wasn't sure that it really needed to be there, but it actually ended up becoming the most important chapter for me. You have spent an incredible amount of time and effort talking about safety. And I would like you to just talk a little bit about why that was important to you and why it takes such a central focus in your book.
Thank you. Yes, I made the decision to really lean into safety because I noticed it was lacking in some of the knowledge pieces that I was reading. And it was in bits and pieces, but I didn't feel like I could find any any other place that walked the home cheesemaker through the levels of safety required to make quality cheese. And I think it was understated. I know that the first time I made cheese, I had no idea that I was growing bacteria in a pot. I just didn't know. And is cheesemaking, of course, is a safe practice. We've been doing it for thousands of years, but there's a right way to do that. And I wanted to make sure that you understood why it was important and what was happening to improve those safety steps so that you understood along the way what to do. And I'd have to say, there are three separate chapters regarding safety, and one of them is sanitization. And everyone has their own level of sanitization, and each cheesemaker does it a little bit differently. But there are some steps that just really cannot be missed. It's not like making chocolate chip cookies, it's a very different process. So I wanted to make sure that you understood the few things that you needed to do to help you make cheese safely.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again on the successful publishing of your first book. And you know I'm going to ask, when's the next book coming out?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. And I'm not really sure what that looks like. I've thought about a few things,
Yeah.
and there are maybe some things on the back burner, but nothing in the front burner yet.
Okay, we'll chat. Okay. Well, listen, congratulations once again on Confident Cheesemaking and getting all of your knowledge out and giving it to the world, an important step. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.